Bought my own house after everyone turned their back on me, and now my ex-husband, my brother, and even my parents suddenly want back into my life, but this time I am not opening the door. 3 years ago, I was married to Daniel, and on the outside, everything looked fine with a nice apartment, a stable life, and decent jobs. But behind closed doors, I was never enough no matter what I did. I worked as a nurse, pulling double shifts and sometimes working 60 hours a week, but to Daniel that didn't matter at all because in his eyes, I didn't earn enough. And he would sit on the couch scrolling through Zillow, showing me houses we couldn't afford and saying things like, look at this one. Emily's husband just bought her something like this, pointing out granite countertops, walk-in closets, and backyard pools, then laughing slightly and saying, guess that's not happening for us. And it was never motivation, it was always humiliation. Still, I tried harder. I picked up extra shifts, skipped vacations, stopped buying anything for myself, and even sold the jewelry my grandmother left me just to build savings. But every single time I showed progress, he would move the goalpost and make me feel like it was still not enough. The breaking point came on our anniversary, when I planned everything, including a surprise weekend getaway that I paid for in full, because I wanted to do something special for once. But during the entire trip, he barely looked at me, always on his phone and smiling at messages, and even though I knew something was off, I ignored it until we got home. When I walked into our bedroom, I found him with her, my coworker, in my bed, and there was no guilt and no shame as he looked at me and simply said, "You're never around anyway. She actually makes time for me." And that sentence didn't just break me, it woke me up completely. The divorce was brutal because he wanted alimony and claimed that I was too focused on work and that I had abandoned the marriage. But the worst part was that my own brother took his side and told me maybe if you acted more like a wife, you wouldn't have cheated, while my parents didn't defend me either and just said that relationships take effort from both sides. That's when I realized that I wasn't losing people. I was seeing them clearly for the first time. So I left everything behind and took a contract job in Alaska, where I worked in a remote clinic under harsh conditions with long hours, sometimes 16-hour shifts, facing snowstorms, isolation, and no social life at all. But the pay was incredible. Over $130,000 a year, with no distractions and almost no expenses. I saved everything, lived simply, worked nonstop, and focused on one goal, which was freedom. And after 18 months, I came back with over $220,000 saved, no debt, and perfect credit. Then I saw it, the house, the exact one Daniel used to show me, with the same kitchen, the same floors, and everything exactly how he once described it. And back then, he said I would never afford it, but now it was mine. It was listed at $310,000, and I offered $325,000 in cash with no inspection and a fast closing, and the deal was done in less than 2 weeks without telling anyone. But the realtor posted it online with a message saying, "Congratulations to our cash buyer." And that's when my phone exploded with messages from Daniel asking, "Wait, was that you?" My brother saying, "Crazy coincidence, huh?" And my parents saying, "We need to talk." But I ignored every single message. Moving day came with luxury trucks and professional movers, everything smooth and exactly how I wanted it. And that weekend I hosted a housewarming party where I invited friends, people who actually supported me, not them. But of course they showed up anyway, with Daniel walking in first and looking around like he had seen a ghost as he whispered, "This place, this is the house." And I calmly replied, "Yeah, I know," while my brother followed acting like nothing had happened. And then my parents walked in smiling as if they were welcome. Daniel stepped closer and said softly, "We could fix things. I made a mistake." But I just laughed, not out of anger or emotion, but because I was completely done. And I told him, "You didn't make a mistake, you made a choice, and I made mine." Then I turned to my friend and asked them to help escort them out. And when my brother got defensive and said, "We're family," I looked him straight in the eye and said, "Family doesn't blame you for being betrayed." And the room fell completely silent. As they were leaving, my mom said, "You've changed." And I nodded and replied, "I had to." And at the door, Daniel stopped and asked, "You're really throwing all of us away for this?" And I looked around at my house, my peace, my work, my victory, and then back at him and said, "I didn't throw anything away. I just stopped holding on to what was already gone." The door closed, and for the first time in years, I truly felt at home. Now they keep calling, apologizing, and asking for another chance. But the truth is that some doors aren't meant to reopen. And sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's